All of our content strategy is really grounded in data and largely keyword research when it comes to inbound.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SaaS SEO Show. I'm your host, George Hasiotis, and today I'm very happy to be joined by Eda Kavlakoglu. Eda, as a marketing leader, has led the development of inbound content at IBM using data from keyword research tools like Ahrefs. And the team at IBM prioritize, write, and edit content that ranks on page number 1 of Google search, driving substantial organic traffic growth to IBM.com. It's interesting because IBM is a company most of us, if not all of us, know. And so I'm very interested in this conversation. And Eda, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So could we have, let's say, an overview of your journey and your background and what has brought you to IBM and, all the interesting things you're doing at IBM nowadays?
Sure. I have been within marketing for about 12 years, and I've kind of have rotated across the different disciplines within marketing. I started within, on the agency side, within paid media and kind of helping plan kind of media buys, more strategically trying to help our clients identify kind of the relevant audiences for the different sites that they wanted to place their ads on. And then from there, I kind of moved into media analytics, and that focused more on kind of website analytics and a lot of reporting, to be totally honest. And after a while, I was kind of getting that, what I like to call an itch to kind of move on to the next thing to learn. And so an opportunity kind of came up for me to join IBM. And I kind of continued that kind of rotational process. Wasn't like a rotational program, but I just ended up kind of starting within their marketing corporate headquarters and help them kind of bring on a tag management tool to help manage their digital tracking around their analytics. From there, I kind of moved on to A/B testing and kind of rolled out maybe not our first A/B testing platform, but an A/B testing platform that would really engage marketers versus just designers. And then kind of moved into what we called a business unit, which kind of no longer exists today as a construct within IBM, but wanted to get closer and more hands-on with marketing and kind of focused on, again, dashboarding and reporting. But then from there, focused on email marketing and kind of how could we leverage our marketing databases to reach different audiences in a meaningful way and kind of retarget them internally. And then that kind of led me over to SEO and kind of content. And so from there, as I kind of worked on SEO for the last, 3 to 4 years, maybe now, we'll call it 3. And we kind of use keyword research to identify opportunities for content. And it's really the way that we prioritize content development across IBM.com. And so when we think about the space in which IBM is playing in, we really want to make sure that we are, represented on page 1 when someone, types in something like artificial intelligence or hybrid cloud. Kind of the technologies that IBM is kind of playing from a market perspective within their product portfolio. And so that is kind of, how I got here. My role is kind of transitioning right now, and I'm kind of focusing more on, or I will start to focus more on tutorial-based content. And I will continue to lead our content strategy team kind of moving forward.
First of all, going back to the beginning of your marketing journey, well done for leaving the agency life. I don't know if you're still recovering from this experience, but it's good. I always advise young people to join an agency because I think that you learn so many things, right? But at some point, I guess, it makes sense to leave it and move on to something different. But that's all very interesting. I mean, my typical second question for guests is about the company they're working at and what the company is and what the company does. But I guess I will skip this question because there's no point in asking what IBM does, right? And I will get right into the questions I prepared for you today. And the first would be, you have almost 10 years at IBM, getting into all these different roles and like functions. What are the biggest learnings from this journey so far?
So I think what has been interesting about IBM, like if you had told me maybe 10 years ago that I'd still be working here, I'd be surprised. And I think what I love about the company is that there's always kind of a new challenge. There's always a new problem to solve. And there's really no shortage of kind of problems to solve at IBM. And so I think if you find yourself at a large corporation and you don't feel like you're being challenged, I would maybe, challenge that person to say, like, are you really looking for a problem for you to sink your teeth into? Because I think all kind of large corporations have kind of plenty of things to solve for, whether it's, actual, data problems or people problems or strategy problems, there's something to be solved. And then I think, my greatest, learning is in order for things to get accomplished across a large corporation, you need to really find the teams that are aligned to your goals and kind of partner with those teams in a really strategic way so that you can accomplish them more quickly. Largely, I think when you're working at a large company, you have a smart team, but sometimes it's either moving slower than you would like, or maybe the team ends up being unsuccessful for to no fault of their own. It's really just having enough buy-in for something to kind of move it forward. And so I think whenever I'm kind of starting something new, I'm always looking for partners who are aligned to the same objectives or kind of adjacent objectives. How can we help each other in order to kind of move both of our programs forward?
That's a good one, and it's interesting because with most of the people I'm talking to who have experience working with like a pretty big company, like not like IBM, but with a few thousands of employees, they all share this, or most of them at least share this, that you need to be able to, because there is a danger that things move slower in this company. So you need to be able to like knock on the right doors and like make some friends in the company, so that when you want to do things and get things done, you have some people to go and ask for help, right? So I think that's a big one. You mentioned problems and challenges. What would you say are the biggest challenges as part of your like role now, or like all these different roles that you changed over the years?
I think in terms of some of the biggest challenges, it's maybe building awareness for a program. It's like sometimes you think you've built enough awareness, but you'd be surprised, at a large corporation, like even within a marketing organization that is maybe adjacent to you, or I don't know. It's always surprising to me that you always need to kind of provide a level of context before broader calls to just make sure that everyone is on the same page. So most recently we had a call with our product marketing teams, and some of them are more aware than others of kind of our inbound program, and it just never hurts to provide that level of context of like what is the overall strategy of our SEO / inbound program, so that everyone can be bought into the same goal and objective. So I think that is maybe like a consistent challenge within IBM is just you can never over communicate at this company. And so just making sure that you're providing that context up front is always just helpful.
That's a very good point. And I mean, it reminds me of a case with a client recently where we had some pushback by one of the stakeholders. And after providing context as to why this is important and why this needs to be done and like why we need to move forward a bit faster, it's like this person it's like it wasn't the same person who pushed back on the thing that we wanted to do. And I was like, what is this all about? I mean, just by explaining why this is important, you can, get the buy-in you need to move forward with certain things. And I would expect that, this is even more important in a bigger company, right? Like IBM.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're receiving pushback, it's more that people just don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. And so if you just take that extra time to kind of level set, then you can kind of bring them along with you on this journey to accomplish like the same kind of goals that both of you have, which is ultimately like driving sales.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Most of the time. So what would you say, how would you define your content strategy today? And what are the main pillars of this content strategy?
So I think all of our content strategy is really grounded in data and largely keyword research when it comes to inbound. So when you look at keyword research and kind of different topics, when you look at the long tail will actually give you a sense for the different content types that people are looking for. So the kind of pillar topic, like let's say, data science, will generally have like informational intent around it. But then kind of longer tail keywords will kind of show different intent types within the data. And so you might have data science tools or data science platform, which might allow you or like lead you to build maybe a solutions page or maybe a product page if you like wanted to align your product pages more to unbranded search. Similarly, like you might have like data science courses or tutorials. These kind of other words kind of act as keyword modifiers that really can start to architect what your website starts to look like. And so if you just kind of pay attention to what your users are really searching for, you can really architect like a really a well-constructed website that is really meeting the market demand, and you're not building content just for the sake of building content. You're kind of meeting the market where they're at and filling in the demand and the need.
But it must be tough, right? Especially for a company like IBM, which is at the forefront of like most technological advancements, especially now with, the rise of AI. It must be difficult to keep up with all these changes and to translate that as it happens into content strategy and like things we need to do and topics we need to write about and go after and so on.
It can be challenging, but I mean, I think that's all, large, any company, you have to adapt to what the market is doing. If you don't adapt, then, you won't be around for long. And I think that's part of the reason why IBM has kind of been around for over 100 years is that willingness to kind of adapt to change. Maybe it's sometimes slower than it wants to be, but, it always kind of goes in the right direction.
So you start, as per like, my understanding is that you start with keyword research and you identify all of these topics and keywords and like subtopics that you need to write about. How do you ensure that the pages and the pieces of content that you like publish are created for people, while at the same time satisfying, quote unquote, search engines as well?
Sure. I mean, I think all of it just like comes back to data. Like you can't kind of make any, decisions just based off of like, subjective feelings. Everyone has a different need. And so I think it's important to, in order to scale, kind of build templates that align to these like intent types. And so you can start by doing competitive research and just understanding how other people are constructing these different page types, and then kind of build them as like a starting point. And then from there, you can start to apply things like user testing and A/B testing to really evolve how, the template manifests over time, so that you can, work towards goals like conversion goals, whether it's just progressing someone further down the funnel or getting them to try your product. Maybe, progression could be just consuming other content. But it could also just, lead them into a product experience as well.
Speaking of keyword research, I would like to go back a bit. How does your process look like? I mean, is it, typical keyword research process starting with a tool like, I don't know, SEMrush or Ahrefs, and then starting with a broad topic? You mentioned data science. Let's take that as an example, and then take it from there, or is it something like completely different that you do?
So I think it's a good question. You essentially like start with a seed list. You won't have like the all-encompassing list up front. That's just, unrealistic. But you can start to kind of plug in these words and kind of pull an adjacent report that has like matching terms, I think within Ahrefs, if I'm remembering that report correctly. And so you can start to export all of these data sets, aggregate them together, and kind of build, it's not quite like a database, but like your own data set to inform the topics that have really the most demand around them, and all the different page types that will be associated with these unbranded topics. And I think as like a content person, like when you are kind of writing about these different topics, you'll find other kind of topics that are relevant to, the story that you're trying to tell, or, the different technologies that you maybe started with within your seed list. And so it's important for the content person to have this good feedback loop with our like SEO focal, who's really designing our keyword or topic backlog. Content backlog, topic backlog, keyword backlog, whatever you want to call it. And so it's really this partnership between kind of two teams, the content team and the SEO team, where, the SEO team will maybe give you the starting point, but it's really the content team that will give you this feedback loop for how to expand it over time.
That makes sense. Are you involved in other parts of the process besides keyword research? I mean, content briefing or ensuring content quality and like even publishing the content out there?
Yeah. We partner with different teams to make it all happen across the different stages of the content development life cycle. But like we're kind of, we maintain that thread throughout the entire process. So we'll partner with our, production team in order to kind of QA the page to make sure like there are no broken links. We'll partner with like a copy editing team to make sure that we're applying the IBM style guide. So like, using the right capitalization rules, not using what we consider like forbidden words across IBM.com, using the right trademarking information. And once it goes through that kind of QA process, it'll, get published. And, we might not be the person pressing the button, but we're involved in the process throughout the entire way. So, the QA person will kick back that document so that we can make the necessary edits to get it to publish. And so you could look at everything across, the team is kind of, this constant feedback loop that you're supposed to be getting from other teams in order to make a polished product.
At the end, assuming that something goes live, how do you evaluate its effectiveness? I mean,
Sure.
we mentioned the word sales, but I mean, if we want to be like honest, not every piece of content is meant to drive sales, right? I just wanted to know how you think about that and how you approach performance measurement, let's say, for the content your teams produce.
So I think one way to look at it from a very like surface level is just like, did we get on page one? And so I think that is kind of one measurement for success. And then when you're looking at when someone has actually landed on the page, did they like stick around? Did they progress? Or did they bounce? They got what they needed. And so I think the thing that we want to focus on once someone lands on IBM.com, how do we kind of get them more engaged with the website where they want to either keep coming back as a returning user or they want to continue their journey within that session. And so I think, within SEO, those are really like the two things that we're looking at is like, did we get on page one and we're getting as much awareness as we can? And then, did we convert that user when they landed on IBM.com? And that can be within kind of, that session, or we also find that people are more willing to convert if they come back over and over to IBM.com. So both of those are kind of two ways that we evaluate success within inbound.
We are talking about SEO and organic search, and SEO content or content that's created for a search audience, to put it better. At the time when there are some major changes happening in organic search, or to be more accurate, we will see how big these changes will be, right? There is a lot of fear mongering around these changes online. And I generally try to steer away from or participate. I don't want to participate to the echo chamber and just focus on the things I can control. But I want to ask you if you are at all concerned about the changes, regardless of how big or small they will be. And how do you think these changes will affect SEO as we know it?
So I'll preface that these are very much my views and not IBM's views, just because I can't represent IBM on the topic of generative AI within content. But I do think that it would be naive to think that there isn't a world in which AI is helping us to develop content. I think that it won't move maybe as quickly as people think that it's going to move. I think even within the last year, there's been a certain amount of slowdown in how the willingness to adopt some of these tools. And so I think some of this fear mongering that you're talking about, it is just that. It's just, people kind of playing to people's emotions. But I do think that there's going to be a world in which that AI plays a role within content. It's just, I think there's going to be a stronger emphasis on the need for expertise within specific areas. So, AI might help us generate a piece of content, but it needs to be validated by someone credible who actually understands that topic. And, we still do that today, even without AI. But I think it'll be more important in a world of AI so that we're not spreading more misinformation. We've kind of already seen that in the past with social media. I think as kind of AI develops, we'll want to kind of make sure that we're mitigating any social risks or ethical risks around AI. And so I think expertise will play a big role. And then I think another way in which AI can kind of involve content is kind of just the brainstorming of new ideas. You might start at one place, but AI might be able to help you evolve that into something bigger or something more robust over time. And so I think that what will become interesting there is more copyright issues. It's how much of that is like your own versus like someone else's. And I think we just have a lot of unknowns right now. So I think the industry in and of itself needs to figure out the direction and how quickly they want to kind of adopt this technology. I think we've kind of learned from some of our mistakes in the past, and there's a concerted effort across the industry to kind of ensure that we don't kind of repeat some of the same mistakes. Or at least maybe I'm kind of optimistic there that hopefully, some of our thought leaders within the AI space are being a little bit more conscious about the impact of AI, not just within content, but within a lot of different arenas.
Do you see though any use cases and like practical applications for it right now? I mean, it could be that it helps you with keyword research and explore topical areas that you haven't came up with, or it could be that it sort of helps us build the let's say the structure of a piece of content, or helps us with content briefing. Do you see any practical applications?
I do think like that goes to like back to like the brainstorming piece that I was talking about. So I think that AI can help you kind of evolve an idea, whether it's like, your seed list of SEO terms, or just, maybe you have writer's block and you kind of input the paragraph that you're working with, today. It might be able to help kind of distill or maybe improve the content so that it flows a little bit better. That's maybe one of the most common things that I see within people's writing, is that they are not connecting thoughts very clearly. And so I could see AI kind of acting as maybe like an editorial tool to improve the way that people write. But I don't think that it's going to kind of replace someone's expertise in the long term. I think there's a lot of this fear mongering around job replacement, and I do think it'll allow us to be more productive as knowledge workers. But I don't think it's going to like outright replace people. I think it's going to just evolve the way that we work.
Yes, if anything, I feel that it's a time when the bar is higher, and if anything, this will push us all become better, right? Because you wouldn't want to be compared, like your work and your output can be compared with to AI, right? So I think that it will push us all become better, more creative, maybe, and maybe that in the long term, because in the short term, I think that it will be the Wild West for a while, or at least when it comes to web content. But in the long term, maybe that will turn out to be good for the content marketing industry, right? We'll just have to wait and see. One of the things I would like to discuss before we start wrapping up is topic clusters. You have experience with topic clusters, and I would like to know your approach there. And also I would like to know how you approach even mundane things, or it may sound mundane, but like URL structure, and whether this is something that lives under the blog, or we have the freedom and flexibility of like launching different clusters within IBM's website. So if you could talk about your process and like way of approaching topic clusters, I would, yeah.
So I think with topic clusters, what we try to do there is kind of ensure that if we're trying to group a cluster of keywords together, that they're all aligned to the same intent type. So you might have a few different keywords that are aligning to the same intent. So a good example might be like data science is like an informational piece of intent, but then also what is data science is also very informational. So you might optimize a piece of content for both of those terms to make sure that you're ranking on both of them on page one. And so I think we don't have the all the answers and how to do that in a more efficient way. I think right now it's very manual in the way that we approach that. But my hope is in partnering with some of our kind of vendors is to kind of automate that process over time, because there are certain algorithms that can help us cluster that information a little bit better than the way that we're doing it today. Can you remind me of like the second part of your question? It was URLs, right?
That's right. URL structure.
So again, like we haven't figured it all out. Like IBM.com is still like a large, complex, place on the web, but I think we're moving in a direction of more organization on our website. And I think our URL structure tries to reflect either our page templates or the intent type that we're really organizing around. And so if you look at kind of our topic subdirectory, all of our informational content that's really like what is in nature is going to live under topics for the most part. I mean, there are, rogue teams that kind of end up building out what is content, but, it's probably just a lack of awareness of like what we're doing as a team. And so to us, that's just like an opportunity for us to kind of partner with that team and kind of bring that content closer together if like they're interested in kind of building that out as well. But, because there are so many kind of different content teams that live within IBM, it's just more of a matter of like partnering with those teams to kind of make sure that we're aligned on how these things should be structured. And once you kind of create this, like almost like I'm trying to think of like the word that I want to use. Like, it's not like a center of excellence, but it's almost like once everything is kind of centering around one element. So in this case, it's like our CMS system, and how we're organizing around this one CMS is allowing us to kind of bring more and more different web properties that don't live on this CMS on board. And so it's kind of this like locus where it's kind of attracting the energy that we want, if that makes sense. It's like built up so much momentum that you don't even have to convince people sometimes to adopt the methodology that you want them to like take within a URL structure. They're willing to inherit it over time because you've created so much kind of energy around a single thing. And so like there's still more work to be done, but I think we're moving in the right direction as a company.
Second to last question. Mm-hmm. What do you think the future holds for SEO and inbound marketing in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there will always be this need for SEO just because, and like inbound marketing in general, largely because we're humans and we have this urge to learn overall. Like, and so people like humanity is curious, and there's always going to be a need, no matter what your industry that you're playing in, to kind of fill in that knowledge gap within the web. And so I'm not like worried about the future of inbound marketing. I think there will always be a space for it. I think the way in which we approach inbound marketing will evolve over time. And that's anything, as any new technology comes into the space, you just need to adapt with the industry and kind of make sure that you're kind of, applying like general like ethical principles in mind. So as long as, what you're doing doesn't, I feel like everyone's little like stomach kind of gives you like a little gut check. And if you don't feel kind of good in your gut about what you're doing, then you're probably doing something wrong. And if you kind of generally feel good about what you're doing and the content that you're putting out in the world, then you're probably, mostly safe. I think we all have this like internal barometer, or maybe I'm just utterly optimistic about humanity.
some people more than others, but I hope the same. But that's a great way to close this episode. Last question I have for you, Eda. Where can people find out more and get in touch if they'd like to?
Find me on LinkedIn. My name is Eda Kavlakoglu. My last name will probably be a mouthful to write down, but it's Kavlakoglu, and first name is Eda. But I imagine you'll write that down somewhere.
Yes, we will drop it in the show notes, and it's not for me because I'm Greek, so it's I can pronounce. I understand. That's right. In any case, that was a very insightful discussion. I assume you're very busy, and I would like to thank you for being generous with your time. Thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you and the team at IBM all the best moving forward.
Thank you, George. I really enjoyed being on the show today. So thanks for reaching out and organizing this.